Welcome to Bendy. Join your two favorite transatlantic weirdos, Andy from Ireland and Beth from the USA, as we take you on a journey through every topic imaginable, with insight, vulnerability, and fart jokes, or in other words, the complete human experience.
Hello, and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible and all the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young. I'm one of your dashing, charismatic hosts. Joining me, as always, is our other dashing and charismatic host, Beth Martin.
I even
Hello,
put
Beth.
on, hello, Andy. I put on makeup for our listeners.
Sweet, perfect, the perfect thing for an audio medium,
I
right?
know, right?
Um. So yeah. So Beth, how you been? What's the crack? As I was,
uh,
I was gonna make our segment. What's the crack? Do you,
what's
you
the
know what that
crack?
means? Yeah.
No, what's the
Do you not know
crack?
Is this why we need to do a
No.
slang episode?
Yeah, it's true.
So what's the crack is if you're asking somebody how they are, it's a general term of like so
Like
crack
what's
is
up or what's happening?
yes, if you're saying what's the crack, what's
Okay.
happening? Yes,
Okay.
basically. Yes. What's
Okay.
going on with you? What's going on with you? A real kind of general sort of term. Um I this is why we need to do a slang episode because there's so much slang I think you would love from this country.
I'm gonna write this down
Yeah, yeah, no, do.
for future reference.
Absolutely.
Uh, I
So yeah,
love
what's
it.
happening with you?
Things are good. I celebrated Mike's out of town, my husband,
Uh-huh.
and we just celebrated 14 years of matrimony.
Mm.
Yes. So he was with his parents, and I was with my children.
Of course. Nice.
So, but it's interesting. Like I was thinking about it, and I was talking to my therapist about it
Uh-huh.
because I love therapy.
Sure.
And I was like, we didn't celebrate. He's like, I didn't get you anything. I was like, I didn't get you anything either. Whatever.
Sure.
And I kind of think like, and then I was thinking about all these shows that I'm watching where people are talking about like it's like reality television, right? Because no
Hmm.
one's because of the Hollywood strike. So a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
reality TV, but everyone's like talking about relationships and relationships are so hard and like it's work. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but this isn't like this is not at all. And it's like I don't need a one day of the year to be like, oh my God, I got to make up for everything that I've done
Yep.
wrong or like show you that I love you in a certain way. Like I don't feel like that at all.
And
So,
I think, and that's, I mean, like, because it seems to be, and I can't speak for the US in this way, like,
hmm
because I have a friend who works in an office, and he talked about like so many of the guys, other married guys he worked with, were like, ugh, got to spend time with a wife this weekend, or do you have to do the same? And he's like, I quite like my wife. I enjoy spending time with her. And I'm like, why is that the unusual take? I mean, like, why is that it's mad to me because like, but I think that's because, oftentimes people will get married young and they'll maybe like, and they will then get into a situation where they feel this is just their lot in life and God forbid they do anything to change that.
right, just slog through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
So,
sucks.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But yeah, that's basically he's out of town right now, so I'm single parenting
nice.
and trying to walk the dog and I have all
Hell
these
yeah.
like I'm gonna go hiking and I'm gonna do all this stuff and it's like nothing is happening. I'm napping in the morning after I drop
Yeah,
the kids
that's
off.
nice
It's
though.
nice.
It's
I
nice to be
know.
able to nap.
Yeah, I like
Um,
naps. How are you?
yeah, okay. I've had to start, so you were talking about therapy. I have had to start a mood diary.
Ooh.
Mm. Like two
Hmm.
days in, and it already feels like a deeply cursed document. It feels like the sort of thing. If somebody looks at it, they'll die within 24 hours,
Can you
unless they pass it on to somebody else.
can you
Uh,
tell me a little bit more about what a mood diet? Like I have an idea of what that is, but like how often are you tracking your mood?
once a day.
Okay.
So like, which to me is kind of, I don't want like, in terms of an effort point of view, I don't think I want to put much more effort than that into it. But
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
I kind of wake up in the morning, I write that down. But like, my mood can absolutely shift over the day, so I might see how it goes. But like, it's just kind of to, because I'm hopefully getting, hopefully on track for a diagnosis within the next wee while
Mhm.
of whatever, and they want an idea of where I'm at most days, you know. I mean, because like, you know, in isolation, you can kind of go, oh yeah, I'm good most of the time, or I'm bad most of the time. But it's kind of, I suppose, it's kind of good to take a note of that in the moment rather than, you know, think about the whole of it, you know, looking back.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it's good. Like as I say, I've only done 2 days of it, and I think I need to do it for 6 weeks.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I am not. It's going to be interesting to look at. Truly, whenever I've done 6 weeks of this, ooh, yeah. But
I've
you know, it's nice to bring
I'm
attention to it at least.
it is, and it's like that's why I asked. Have you are you tracking more than once? Because yeah, your mood shifts. Like how I am in the
Yeah,
morning can be very different to how I am when I go to bed at night.
yeah,
But it's also like I don't know. It's like that conscious observation or like just being able to look at yourself a little bit from the outside and be like,
yeah.
this is how I'm doing.
Yeah, and I suppose this is the thing, you know, in terms of like, you know, how useful it is to actually talk about things that are going on internally because it really can change. Even vocalizing them can change them so completely
Hmm.
in ways that you just couldn't possibly consider.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's real power there, I think.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah.
Do
Um,
you want to tell people who we are and why we're
oh
here?
God, yeah, that's something I
So,
meant to get to earlier.
Andy Young, where are you from?
So you know, I was telling a friend about this today, and like, no matter what my answer is, it's gonna get me in trouble.
I know.
Um, I am from the island of Ireland,
Yes.
and nobody can tell me I'm a liar or I'm misrepresenting myself.
Right.
Um, so I guess I have, I'm from Northern Ireland. It's obviously part of United Kingdom, Great Britain. Um, though due to the nature of our setup here and sort of things that have happened in the past, or certainly the Good Friday Agreement in the 90s, I'm able to get both an Irish citizenship and a British citizenship. So I have both passports.
Hmm.
Um,
Lucky.
I know, right? So it means like I'm both
Yeah.
in Europe and out of Europe, like a liminal person, which kind of suits
Hmm.
me perfectly, um, as you know. So yeah, I suppose I'll talk a little bit about how we met and stuff as well. You can maybe talk. I'll let you talk a little bit about this in a
Hmm.
minute. But
Hmm.
5 years ago, was it 5 years ago? 5 years ago anniversary, wasn't it, when we were in
I
Portugal?
think it was 2019 when we went
Wow,
to
nuts. Yeah,
Costa
wait, hold
Rica.
on. No, yeah, it was four. No, it was 4 years. 4 years because
Can we
I turned.
math? Can we math?
I know it for sure because I was 40 then, and
Hmm.
I'm 44 now.
Hmm.
So I think that's 4 years, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. When's your
Um,
birthday? What day?
May 26th.
Okay. Yeah, because we were both born in 79.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. And
Um,
now everyone has that information.
yeah, and so you can track us down.
Right.
That's fine. I can do it. I can do it with a bit of attention if, if anybody wants to stalk me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
so,
you're older than me, which now is going to be a point of contention.
oh no,
I know.
I'm older than everyone. That's not true. So so as I say, it was so 2019. So we met at a yoga teacher training
Hmm.
course. I don't know if that's the right word for it. In Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Um, and people from all over the world, I would say largely North America and Europe.
Hmm.
I think that was almost exclusively it. So a group of people from all over to do our teacher training in Costa Rica, beautiful Costa Rica, in a sort of purpose-built place for retreats and things like that.
Yes.
It was an incredible experience. It was a challenging experience. It was um, life-changing, I would say.
I would agree.
Uh, And like, although there were things about it I wasn't crazy about in a lot of ways, I made friends there that I will have for the rest of my life, which, you know, is incredible. And if that's all I got from it, then that's amazing, including
Yeah.
Beth, of
Agreed.
course.
Ha ha! You're welcome, world.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. So I am from the United States, and I I've lived sort of all over, both East and West Coast and the middle of the United States, but I'm currently located in California after leaving Oregon in the rain. And it's pretty fucking awesome, not gonna lie. It's
Hell
80
yeah.
degrees, and
I
you can't see, but I've got the pool behind me, and it's like it's a windy day, and there's this blow up llama that just keeps
I've
moving.
seen the Blow Llama, yeah, so
Right, it's in my periphery. It just
so
keeps
great.
moving. Uh, so yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. But yeah, so yeah, I I'm going to talk a little bit about why I went to this
Yeah.
yoga retreat in Costa Rica.
Yeah,
So
I should touch on that in a minute as well. Yeah.
yeah. So like I first of all, I'm going to apologize to everyone because I'm going to say like because it's just how I would. It's our lexicon. We all sound like we grew up in the
Like
valley of Southern
whatever.
California. Like whatever. It's fast times at Richmond High. I'm
Hell
sorry.
yeah.
Thank you, Sean Penn.
Hmm.
But I think I've been like when I really think about it, I've been doing yoga since high school.
Mm.
And I didn't know that's what I was doing. I just thought like we were doing like theater warm ups. But now I'm like, oh, at the every pose that we were doing and like the Enya we were listening to get ready for, whatever play we were doing. I'm like, that was yoga.
Yeah.
And then I started, I had a relationship end
Uh-huh.
and my mom gave me a yoga tape. So I was in like my early 20s and I just started doing this one video like every day. And I was like, this feels good, And then I really started to get more interested and involved and going to classes. And after having kids, like trying to get my body to sort of knit itself back together.
Mm.
And then I made the decision a year before our yoga retreat that if I practiced yoga every day for a year, then I would like earn this
Oh,
this
interesting. I
this
didn't know
trip,
that.
this
Okay.
training. Yeah. So and
Awesome.
Mike was in grad school at the time,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and so he was like gone every Friday and every Saturday, and he was like, and then he got to go. It was like for his MBA, so he got to go to New Zealand and Fiji for
Nice.
like 3.5, 4 weeks or something. And he said, give yourself the gift of doing something when I'm done with all this. And I was like, I already know what I want. I want to go and get my yoga certification.
Hell yeah.
And so I found this school, and that's why I ended up going.
Yeah. No, that's great. I don't think I did know that. I didn't know that you did it for a year. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, mine was, um, my reasoning was reactive, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'd only been practicing yoga for a couple of years, and I'd started it because I have arthritic condition on my lower back. Um, and I had always been seeking something, um, to do for my body, that's
Hmm.
really broad, but I guess, what I'm talking about is some sort of exercise. A lot of like team sports and stuff like that never
Hmm.
really spoke to me. The really kind of
Hmm.
competitive nature of them it just kind of put me off.
Same.
Um,
I hate competition,
oh, it ruins so much in my opinion.
except for a
But like,
podcast, which is going to be the number one in the
sure,
world. Yeah. But
because yeah, that's true. I thought you were talking about us competing. Um, but
I
so
could never do that.
no, we couldn't, never. What For me it was, I got out of a long-term relationship. When was it? I think about 6 months prior.
Hmm.
God, not even, maybe 4 or 5. And um, wanted to do something fulfilling. And I
Hmm.
had done a few other things because everything about that was kind of quite negative in a lot of ways and certainly left me in that sort of position. So I wanted to do positive things. I felt yoga had been a positive, influence in my life already at that point, only like a few years in. Um, and I thought that, allowing me to teach it to people would allow me to spread that positivity a bit.
Hmm.
But I also just wanted like a holiday in Costa Rica as well. Do you know what I mean? Like that was also part of it. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, why not go big? Why not do it, um, go to the other side of the world to do it because I could have done it locally, but it just wouldn't have been the same experience.
Hmm.
And it was incredible. It really was. It
Hmm.
was absolute. I mean, I said before it was life changing, and I mean, I don't want to understate that. You know
I
how
agree.
seismic it was. You know.
Yeah, it was. It
Um.
was definitely like there was say like when you're writing a book or a movie or when you're watching a movie, there's always that what is it the starts with the C. It's
Oh
the
yeah.
catalyst or the
Inciting incident. Is that the one we're
yes,
looking for?
yes,
Yes.
yes. And it's
Hmm.
like this was like for me, it was a total paradigm shift
Yeah.
where it uh I think people have this concept of like, oh, you're going to a yoga retreat, and it's like you're just going to hang out and stretch. And it was like,
Yeah.
no, we were up at like 4:30 in the morning, and we
Yes.
were going until like 9 o'clock at night.
Like 12-hour days. Yeah, wasn't it? It was like
Mm-hmm.
it was maybe more. Yeah, I
It
think you're
was like
right. It maybe was more.
14-hour days.
Yeah, it was brutal. Because it wasn't
Yeah.
like, yeah, just yeah, it wasn't one of these. I mean, we've talked about other like yoga retreats where it's like they also like learn to surf and
Yeah.
like go to
Yeah.
cookery school, whereas ours was not that. Ours was a graft. I mean, it was like lovely in a lot of times. Some of the classes certainly at least were anyway, but it was a lot. It really was and quite
Yeah.
intense.
Yes. And it's basically like the way that it was structured was to sort of break yourself down to your most basic self,
Hmm.
but there's a lot that you have to sort of pull away in order to get to your most basic self. And it was what I thought I was going into was like learn how to do poses, and what I got out of it
Yes.
was who are you really?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It kind of like unraveled us as
Yeah.
as people in
Yes.
a good way. I
Yes.
mean, yeah, there's yeah other stuff, but it really was that, and it was great. But yeah, and I mean, absolutely not the experience I anticipated. I had no
Mm-hmm.
clue of what I was
Mm-hmm.
walking into.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was great. It really was. It was a lot, but it was yeah, transformative for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
So it
uh
so I think with with the podcast, like we're gonna pick a topic for each episode, and so I
yeah.
think we decided for this one, like, well, let's start not to bring out my musical theater self right away, but let's start at the very beginning.
Beth just threw some glitter in the air
I
for anybody
did,
who's
I
listening.
did. We just watched The Sound of Music last night because I bought the Rogers and Hammerstein box set.
Amazing.
So, but I think like what I what I wanted to talk to you about is sort of the difference, like the history of yoga in your country
Yeah.
and the history of yoga in the United States and your country being
Yes.
wherever it is
Where
that you live.
the nebulous country I live in. Yeah.
And just like the differences that come from that and what it's because you actually teach. Like I'm not
Yeah, that's true.
currently teaching. I did prior to COVID, but what that's like and what clientele you get and just how it's different.
Yeah, so like yeah, you know, so in terms of like I know that like I've had friends who worked with some of the initial uh okay, actually let me start this off properly. I'll just talk a little bit about my experience and then what I understand of yoga's connection to Ireland. So like I have like teaching yoga is hard, right? That's what I need to get straight out of the gate. It's a lot. In
It's like
terms of like,
for each hour of class you teach, it's like an hour of preparation.
yeah, I know. It's like, and it's also like in terms of, you know, staying, because I have found yoga in this country, people really appreciate um, a guided practice, as in you're performing most of the stuff with them.
Hmm.
By and large, certainly the people I have been teaching. So, you're trying to move, you're also trying to cue correctly. You're also trying to remember the sequence that you're giving to people. You're also trying to create also a sort of fun, yeah, a fun environment, but also like a environment where that's nourishing, that allows them to get something out of it. So it's just a lot of like balls to kind of keep in the air, but it's good. It is satisfying to do, and like I think that the feeling you get coming out of yoga class that you've taught well is really kind of fantastic. But yeah, so whenever I came back, it took me a few years to really kind of dial into my confidence with it because it really is scary at first. And I have had some really traumatic incidents. Like I remember, so one of my favorite things about yoga, you may understand this, is I know you'll understand, Beth, but is an om. I love an om, right? And
And so, just for our listeners,
hmm
he means I'm going to translate. Andy, occasionally it's
hmm
Om.
Oh, sorry, excuse me.
No, no. I love it. This is
Um,
what it's all about.
it is.
Yeah. So, or
Yes,
Om.
so like I did that so one of my first very early jobs was I did some yoga in a gym, and I tried to get them to do an at the end of that, and it was not good. It was not good at all. It went disastrously wrong. So I've since learned, like I feel like as much as I kind of hate the characterization of this, I kind of like left some of the woo woo out of it a little bit.
Hmm.
I don't. Like it. I really like the spiritual side of yoga a lot. I think there's a lot of stuff there, but I also feel that can be a little bit alienating for some people.
Hmm.
So the yoga that I've had to teach, certainly in my time, has been um, more kind of focused on the physical practice. So it's more about how it'll benefit your body and how it'll strengthen your body and things like that. That seems to be more what people are looking for. Now, there are certainly studios here that offer something that's a bit more spiritual, but like I know a lot of folks. Especially guys who are historically hard to get into yoga. So, I guess for me, um, I've really started. I really have started coming into my own. I think over the past year or two, I feel like I teach a pretty good class at the minute. I have people who come to my classes frequently and enjoy coming back, and they get really good feedback from. So I'm feeling more confident with it, which is really nice. But that took a while to get there. It really did.
Hmm.
Um, so I think like yoga in Ireland, it's still in its infancy in a lot of ways. Um, one of my friends, one of my fellow yoga teachers who's about the same age as me, her friend who's about the same age as us, I think slightly older, kind of was involved with one of the first sort of yoga studios in Belfast,
Hmm.
and that was about 20 or 30 years ago. And
Okay.
and she's American, so she came over and she thought I can introduce this, and I feel like from then it kind of grew. I know that certainly even up until 2018, 2019. Actually, sorry, probably even up to 2020, because whenever like COVID hit, numbers in all the studios I went to were really high. There was high demand for classes. It was going really great. Then COVID came along, ruining things for everyone. And since then, numbers have been down. Then we've also had like economic downturns and things like that, which has obviously affected the whole world. So there's just been a number of factors which has really limited numbers coming back in the way that they were, which is really sad to see, honestly. Um, but it's still again, I teach a lot of gyms and stuff like that and do corporate gigs and whatnot, but like there's definitely passion for it, but I think there still needs to be some work done in this country with reframing what it is, what its benefits could be. You still get like I still get lots of people coming along to classes who are like, this is just going to be standing around in poses. And then you kind of show them stuff and they're like, what? Like half an hour in, they're like sweating or they're panting for breath and things like that. And they're like, they can see the value of it. So yeah, so I think a mixed history so far, but I'm hopeful that it's going to see a rise again soon.
Hmm. Do you find that, um, like, are there stigmas around yoga?
A little bit, and people do. It's why Pilates is quite popular, because people see, and oftentimes Pilates classes are just a physical yoga basically. I mean,
Yeah.
because they don't really use Pilates machines and stuff. But like
Hmm.
for the first time ever recently, somebody was telling me about I think it was one of our friends, Karen, had mentioned this, like
Hmm.
how she had tried to introduce yoga in her one of her schools, and
Yes.
um, she got comments from parents saying that's the devil's work,
Yes.
yoga. You have to get that out. So I've heard a
Yeah.
little bit of that over here from people
Uh-huh.
recently, which is crazy to me. Um, so there is a bit of pushback, and there is a bit, it's still stigmatized for men. It's still, seen as, um, you know, I guess it's like, I don't know whether you had it in the US, but like aerobics was almost seen in a dismissive fashion. It's sort of seen like in that category, I think,
I
for a
see.
lot of people,
I
which is
see.
disappointing, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's getting better in that regard.
So I love doing homework.
Hmm.
So I did a here's my research report on
Yes, I love it.
on the history of yoga in the US, just to so I mean, no one really knows how long yoga's been around for, but I think, you know, we're thinking at least it's what, like 5,000 years old.
Yeah.
So the history with the United States begins in the 19th century with favorites such as Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau.
Ooh.
And so they did a lot of the reading of a famous book called the Bhagavad Gita, and a lot of that is referenced in their writing. Um, and then it wasn't until about like 18, well, not about, I know this because it's in my piece of paper, in 1893,
Nice.
a Hindu leader, I don't want to butcher this, but
Sure.
his name was Viva, I'm not going to say it,
Yeah.
Vivekananda.
Okay.
Vivekananda. He came from India, presented yoga as a spiritual practice, but
Uh-huh.
didn't include the postures,
Okay.
and so it didn't really like it. People were like, "Well, that's weird," and we that doesn't go with our religious beliefs. And but then in
Yeah.
1919, the physical postures were brought in by another person, and that combined with sort of the mind body spirit triangulation of yoga started to take hold. But it wasn't until 1948, once Hollywood grabbed it.
Of course.
So this woman named Indra Devi opened up a Hollywood studio, and they were marketing it as, something amazing and glamorous, and
Okay.
but it was really focused on women, which is
Yes.
interesting because it sounds like it's still predominantly like a
It
woman
seems to have
activity.
become that, doesn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
like across the world, it seems to have become that. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then actually at home practice was introduced in the 1950s by this woman. She wrote a book
Okay.
about it, like how
Uh-huh.
to do yoga at home, which I think was pretty progressive because I do a lot of at home yoga because I hate leaving the house.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, progressive as being, 1950s, which isn't that long ago.
Sure.
That's
Sure. Sure. Sure.
okay.
Sure.
Then more schools of yoga opened, lots of different techniques. You and I are trained in Iyengar yoga,
Yeah.
which he created the props. So the straps and the blocks and the
Oh, I
mats
don't
and
know
all of the things that help all bodies get into the positions that
that.
they
Hmm.
need to go
Hmm.
into. So he came over, and then Woodstock picked it up, and
Mm.
Swami Satchidananda opened the Woodstock Festival in '69, which I thought was interesting because if I was supposed to live in a time period, that was it.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, I know. Get
Oops.
that time machine. We'll
Yep,
get
yep,
that
yep.
time machine
I
invented.
know, right? And then Ramdas, who
Of
was
course.
his original name was Richard Albert, got
Yep.
kicked out of Harvard for doing all the psychedelics
Yep.
and went to India and came back and was like, "Oh my goodness, everyone, you can actually embark on a lifestyle of spirituality." And then everyone was super into that. And then in the
Hmm.
80s, I don't know if it's Jane Fonda with her
Oh
aerobics
yeah.
video
Hmm.
VHSs or what
Hmm.
happened, but then it became like an aerobics class, like more
Yeah.
exercise, not focused on the spiritual aspect at all. And it's still kind of hanging out in that zone, I think. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
I'll go to classes, and I live in a pretty rural community here, and but I've been to other classes where they will ohm and people will ohm,
Oh, nice. Okay.
but it's really like, I'm sort of in the world of tech and Nike. So,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
it's like, okay, how do we make this work for athletes,
Yeah.
And so a
Of
lot of
course.
teachers would actually like teach classes, but are working with athletes to get their performances up. And then now we have something which I thought was interesting. They call it cosmopolitan yoga, and
Hmm.
that's turning into like the business of yoga, the commercialization of yoga, and I'm going to throw some numbers at you that I thought were
Hear me?
interesting. By 2016, 36.7 million Americans were practicing yoga, which is
Uh-huh.
amazing. But that also means that yoga pants started selling equipment, yoga mats, all that stuff. So between 2012, people spent $10 billion on yoga clothes, to 2016, where they spent 16 billion. It's just like the amount of money that people are paying to wear
Give me those years.
clothes.
What was the
So
difference in
okay,
those years again?
it's $6 billion. 2012, people spent $10 billion on yoga
Uh-huh.
clothes and uh,
Nuts.
props, props, and then in 2016 they spent 16 billion.
An additional six
And
billion in 4 years.
that's just in the United States of
Yeah,
America.
that's wild.
That's not including the rest of the world. So,
Yeah.
and then something else that was interesting. So this is from 2016. 72% of the practitioners were women.
Hmm.
Few yoga practitioners from minority ethnic groups. And
Hmm.
then this person named Lattister wrote a lot about this and said that basically has said that American yoga in the 21st century, and I'm quoting her, has lost the gentleness, consistency, and direction of the practice, and it's been replaced by ambition.
Mm.
Wah, wah.
Speaks to the world we live in these
Yeah, I
days.
know, I
How much it
know.
fucking blows.
It does. It's just like, and I remember when we were inner training, and it was like one of the last days, and we'd all like, I mean, we got close as a close of group of people can get,
Yep.
I mean, like, I feel the same way. Like, all these people will be, and I've had other friendships where I'm like, this person will be in my life forever.
Yep.
But like, I really like, we have all seen each other. We go on trips
True.
together, like this is sorry, like, you're stuck with me.
Oh no, I'm delighted.
Yeah, but it's like, really, like, I will say, like, what has carried me through COVID, and we can get into all my health stuff at another time, but like,
Yeah.
it really is like, I was the spiritual aspect, and
Yeah.
it's a shame that that is really like that third, you know leg on the tripod is not getting the same stability or
Yeah, it's not
attention.
getting the love it deserves, really. Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know. I just feel like you're right completely, and I totally agree. And it's just it feels like anything. It's going to be me being deeply cynical. Anything that's like not profit focused or not sort of
Yeah,
is seen as like almost a kind of waste of time, and it's really it really sucks.
I
Um,
agree.
but this is why hopefully we can help people get back there a little bit. And I think, and that's what I said to you, and like, what I like about this in this format that we're kind of doing is I think one of the big stumbling blocks in that regard, it really does tie into that, is how is kind of rigid thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and how people really struggle to change that, whenever
Mm-hmm.
they're introducing new information, kind of just reject it rather than maybe going, okay, so maybe my conceptions were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's some real value in that sort of flexibility and all those things, and kind of reframing your thinking, and leaving yourself open to new opportunities and new ideas is, I mean, it's kind of what makes life interesting to me.
I agree. I think we've talked about this, but like, the the concept of just being stuck in, I, I, the older I get, the less I know, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is like where I want to be.
Yes, but it's also kind of being okay with that, right? It's also
Yeah.
going, so what? It's
Yeah.
fine. I mean,
Yeah.
whereas I think that all too often, so as a kid, I was like, I need to have understanding of things. And like I remember in my life, and I see it a lot as well, is that like I would have a surface level understanding of something, and then I could
Hmm.
go, great, I can put that in the box marked whatever. I have a complete understanding of it. Next, next thing for Andy,
Hmm.
and but like as it turned out, I knew basically nothing about those things,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I feel like, getting tied into that mindset can be quite limiting, quite damaging, but it's all for sort of, I don't know, appearance sake, I guess, a lot of the times, and this idea of having to have this outward image that is very smart or accomplished or knowledgeable or any of those things.
Hmm.
Smart and knowledgeable, are they different? Yeah. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah,
If
they
you
are
go,
different.
if you, if you Google, if you look them up in the dictionary, they have different
Yeah, that's true.
definitions.
Phew, thank goodness. That's all I need. Um,
Check that box.
Okay, yeah. I've got it. I've got it. I understand it completely.
Yeah. But like in reading that and kind of listening to what it's like in Ireland, don't I don't think that any of this is necessarily bad.
Yes.
I think that, you know, on the one hand, like, oh, marketing and you're turning this into a business, but the flip side is, it's if honestly, wearing yoga pants gets somebody on the mat, like I say all the time, yoga's always a good idea, and I
Yes.
never like 80% of the time I do not feel like doing it,
Yes.
but I leave the mat and I'm like, that was a good idea, damn it.
Yes.
So it's
But that's
just,
like
it's
I
like
don't know
whatever
about
it
you.
takes to get people there, and
Yes.
then maybe that will then like help shift
Spur
them.
something.
Yep,
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, no, it
some little
definitely.
spark of something.
Yeah. And that's all it kind of takes a lot of the time. I mean, like I find that in like so many things, it's like I if I have an excuse, if like somebody will give me an out, I'm like, thank God. But I always regret it. I always regret not doing it. You know what I mean? I'm always like, and like, see, as soon as I'm in the moment with a person and we're doing whatever, be it yoga, just be spending time with somebody, I'm nearly always glad it happens. 99.9% of the time, I'm
Hmm.
delighted that I'm doing the thing. I feel better for it.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just about a kind of taking that first step a lot of the time, isn't it?
Hmm. Hmm. So, we just took a trip to Portugal with some of
Uh-huh.
our yoga friends, and we got to experience yoga classes in Portugal, and then
It's
we
true.
each also taught each other.
Yep.
Uh, did Katie
No, Kitty
teach? No,
didn't.
okay.
Kitty didn't. Yeah, no.
Katie.
Kitty, it's okay. She's fine. We'll forgive her. We love her. It's
You're
fine.
forgiven. But it was interesting, like having Alexa teach, you teach,
Yeah,
and me teach, and like how different we all teach, and like
it's true.
how we were all like grabbing parts of each other's, like, oh, I can use that. Oh,
It's
I can
true.
use that. I've never done that before.
Yeah.
And then also, it was interesting because the class I went to, um, the she taught it in English, so I think
Hmm.
that's must be a
Oh, yep,
universal,
yep, yep,
getting to
yep.
be more of the universal language. So I was grateful that I could understand what she was saying, and also it was very similar to classes that I've taken here, and I wasn't sure if it was similar to classes that you've taken or teach.
Oh, yeah. Now, I didn't go to the one that you went to, right? Because that was the day, I think, because you went in the second,
I had a home day.
you had a home day. No, because I went the day and it was me, Alex, and Katie. And I think
Yeah,
you went the next day, right? That I didn't
yeah,
go to.
yeah.
And you said that class, the ones that are with Alex and Katie who went both said that the class that they went to wasn't quite as accomplished
Hmm.
as because she seemed like a new teacher.
Hmm.
So
She seemed
I'd
a
say
little nervous.
yeah. So it was actually the studio owner who took us the first day, and she really knew her shit, and she
Yeah.
did a really excellent class in it. But I thought very similar to what I have kind of been taught in um, the UK for sure. Very, very, very similar. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I always love, you know, how people cue things differently, or they say things a certain way, or they just have a different, like, a little bit of a different form of movement. There's always like unique elements to everybody's teaching, which is why I love going to, anytime I have a friend who's like, I am teaching yoga now, I'm like, I'm going to one of your classes ASAP because I just want to see how you teach. I'm sure I will learn something from it.
Hmm.
And also to support friends, you know, but it's, yeah, no, I'd say very, there seems to be like a sort of a similar format in Europe, at least anyway,
Hmm.
because I always like to go to different classes when I'm in different countries. I
Yeah,
know,
I don't.
what a show off.
I'm giving
I,
India a stink face.
yeah, like, yeah,
You're
and I mean,
such
like,
a good traveler.
I know,
You're like,
uh,
you go and do things. It was, I mean, just like the places we've gone together and the stuff that we've done, it's like you're always so good at getting out, walking around,
yeah,
visiting places, and you would do things that I would never think to do.
mm,
Um, you're good. You're a good travel buddy.
thank you, I agree. Well, I mean, like, I agree
Thumbs
that I
up.
am, yeah.
Check that box
Thank
too.
you, I appreciate it. Like, I mean, like, and just to be clear, on the day that you all went to yoga, I went and had beer and pizza for breakfast.
I know.
And I regret
That's
nothing.
balance.
It is balanced. It was lovely. It was such a good pizza. And Alexa thought I would bring her a piece. No way. Dream
No
on, Alexa.
way.
It was too good. That pizza was all for me. So yeah, so right, okay. So do we think, are we
And
done talking about, or do we want to?
I mean, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
I think. I guess like how has yoga changed your life? I guess it's a big
Hmm.
question.
It is a big question, but so I'd say, I mean, at a core level, no, I mean, the core level is a bad way to put it. I think that my baseline was, I have a sore back. I want
Hmm.
something that will help with that. And it has
Hmm.
been transformative in that regard because it has meant that I don't really have to take the medication that I used to have to take for that. I still take it very occasionally. Um, I, so, and like, and also, like, in terms of me doing it, I remember like doing it, and then like I remember hiking a hill in Belfast, and then a year later I had done about a year's worth of yoga, and then I hiked the hill again, and I was like, my body works so much better now, and I like this, and this is worth the effort because it's just reliable in a way that it wasn't for years before that, you know. And I think that was a real sort of turning point in terms of my physical health, because I remember a point in my um probably early 30s where I was just like, yeah, I'm fat now. It's just, that's just how my what my life's going to be. I'm not going to get in shape. Why would I do that? I don't even know where to start with that.
Hmm.
This is just my lot in life. Um, but I really, and it's completely, turned things around for me.
Hmm.
Um, but like, I also, in terms of like the spiritual and mindfulness, I think like it's come at a time when I, started doing therapy and things like that, and it has
Hmm.
really, that's part of that fabric that has really allowed me to think differently about spirituality, think differently about what's going on internally with me, emotionally, intellectually, all those sorts of things. Um, but also like, and this is a huge, and I think part of it is that the friendships that I've made with yoga have been incredible. Like truly deep bonds with people I love, and that was not something that I expected or anticipated, and that's probably the thing that has surprised me most. And it's like the gift that keeps giving. Like I keep making friends through yoga that are wonderful, loving people who I can talk with frankly. That it was something that I didn't know I needed until I had it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of my long-winded answer to that question. What about you?
It's a great answer. And like
Thanks.
I will say like for me, yeah, I didn't expect the quality of friendships that I
Yeah,
got out of it, or and that people would want to continue to like hang out with
yeah,
me.
I hear you.
um
Not
And,
no.
no, oh,
You know what I'm
this
saying.
is it.
You know
This
what I'm
is
saying.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're done.
um,
No, sorry.
well, all right, one episode. That's fine. Guess I'm not coming to see you next year.
No,
Whatever.
that's not what I mean.
But
What have I done?
right, but really, like at the base level,
Yeah.
it it's it's helped me be okay with who I am.
Mm.
And it's helped me be okay with who I am when I don't necessarily like myself.
That's
And
huge.
it's helped me to um, really get in touch with. This is hard. I'm having a hard time answering this because
Sure.
there's like it's
It's
really
quite
it's
complex.
a big question,
It
right?
is a big question and it's quite complex. Yeah.
Um, but it's helped me to find the things that because when I'm on the mat, I'm when I don't know what to do, I get on the mat.
Yep.
When I am upset, I get on the mat. When I'm
Yeah.
sad, I get on the mat. So it's kind of like it also it's like it absorbs all of my sadness and my
Sure.
tears. It's like I'm able to like let that go and like literally just like let it go. It goes in the mat or it goes into the earth or wherever it
Yeah.
goes. But it's like I'm allowing it to be released from my body.
That's
Not to say it
interesting.
doesn't come back,
Sure.
but just having a space to actually be in the moment, be present. I'm not trying to sound trite, but
No.
I'm okay with who I am now.
Hmm.
And I'm okay with
That's
not
huge.
knowing things, and I'm okay with not being liked by everybody, and I'm okay to have hard moments because I know I have this thing that I can fall back on that
Yeah.
will always bring me back to the core of like who I am, which is, you know, a fucking awesome human being.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. I think that's yeah. I really like the answer to it. Like, I mean, I think that it's certainly inspirational. I like it's certainly I feel like I still have a ways to go before I'm in a similar place, but like I definitely am on the path. Then there's sometimes things happen that reminds me I'm maybe a little bit further on the path
Mm-hmm.
than I give myself credit for, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, like the thought of like I think like I'm okay with people not liking me now as well, whereas like it would have been unthinkable, an unimaginable burden maybe like 6 years ago.
Same.
But yeah, but it's I think as well in that regard it's like it's also constant maintenance as well. I think I mean not constant maintenance, but it requires some maintenance certainly anyway. You can't kind of like sleep on it, but
No.
it's good even to learn that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um. Okay, so should we start? Let me see. So yeah, right. Okay, so I need like a wee wow, 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 air horns or something,
Uh-huh.
or like a wee, like we sort of
Your
sort of do a
segue jingle.
segue jingle like something
Segue
like
air
that.
horn.
Yeah, it's an appropriate segue, right? An air horn. Um. So Beth, is there any has oh.
So Andy,
So Beth,
center
what has
yourself.
been bringing you joy this week?
I love that question, Andy.
That's a good question. Thank
It is a good question.
you.
Can we ask that
Yeah,
question
we can.
every week?
We are going to ask that question every week.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I know that. I knew
it's on.
that, but
It's
I'm
on
just
my.
it's on your your list.
It's on
So
my.
yeah.
This must be done, or there'll be big
Okay.
trouble
So
list. Yeah,
what is
sorry.
bringing me joy this week? That's a really good question.
Hmm.
Um
If you want to think about it, I have an answer.
yes, I want to think about it.
Okay, so
I came prepared with like my book report, but not with it. Not to
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about
I
joy.
I just put in like really
Jesus,
basic
Andy.
things about each of these elements. So I am reading a book at the minute called Into the Woods, and
Ooh.
it's ostensibly about screenwriting, but
Mm.
it's not. It's more than that. It's more about the nature of story and what it means to us as humans, the origins of story, where it comes from, and because like I'm trying to write more and I'm trying to like structure. I think certainly structure for stories is something I struggle with. And what I love about it is it isn't like here's a guide. This is how stories are written. This is how you should write stories. It's more of a look at this pattern that emerges in nearly all the stories that we tell. Isn't that interesting? Why does that happen? Why do we as humans respond to that? And I think it's really kind of been really helped me look at writing and story structure completely differently, and it's in a way that I feel is intellectual, but not like off-puttingly so. It doesn't feel like insurmountable in terms of it feels like a good, really kind of accessible, good read. So that's been
Hmm.
really sparking creativity within me and definitely bringing me a lot of sort of joy recently.
I love
I didn't
I
talk about
love
the Crocs, can you believe it?
You
And they have been bringing me joy.
I love Crocs.
Yeah.
Hashtag Crocs.
Hashtag Crocs.
I,
We need to get Crocs as
I,
a
I,
sponsor.
I know. That's the
All right,
goal.
yeah,
That's the
okay.
goal.
Okay, that's the dream.
Um,
Yeah.
there you go. Well, yeah, I'll hashtag the crap out of that. But
Yeah, please do.
I will. I like that because I do see because I watch a lot of movies. I was raised
Hmm.
by a father that was like really into movies and
Awesome.
did some screenwriting, which
Of
and
course.
we'll talk about. But I love that that you see a common thread or that someone wrote a book about,
Yep.
you know, that there is, a pattern to storytelling. And I will say too, I don't have the gift. Certain people have the gift of storytelling and I just
Mm.
don't. like
What do you mean
like
by that? Do you mean like as in telling somebody a story or writing it or what do you mean?
I think telling a story,
Okay.
like oral tradition.
Hmm.
Like my dad was a storyteller. I had a really good friend who passed away a few years ago who
Hmm.
was equally like, and I've talked to you about like, have you kissed the Blarney Stone? Do you have the gift of gab?
Sure.
But like there's more than just being able to talk. There's really being able to tell a story,
Yeah.
and I'm envious of those that have the oral ability.
Gift. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. I don't.
Yeah. I think like and I mean I think that I can do it as long as I'm not bringing attention to it. If I bring attention to it in the moment, it can kind of fall apart a wee bit. But like
Yeah,
it's I definitely can access it sometimes,
yeah.
and I do like it. And I think that like so many of the like people I know who are good at it or don't talk meaningfully. Like they don't just
Hmm.
talk for the sake of talking, you
Hmm.
know. And like I don't really like to just be like blah blah blah. Yeah, this is what's going on because I just don't see the point really.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think yeah, I get it.
What are
I do all
you?
right.
What are you gonna write about? Like, are you gonna write a movie?
I want to
Write a
do a
movie?
comic book.
Yes.
Um, More than anything else, it's something that I've always wanted to do. I know it's within reach. I believe I have the ability to do it now.
Hmm.
I just believe it's actually sitting down and making it happen.
Hmm.
I wrote 2 issues of a comic at the start of the year that I liked, but I think I overstretched in terms of what it was beyond my capability at the time. It had too many characters, and I think that I will go back to, I'll revisit it certainly at some stage. But what I've done now is the thing I'm working on is much more stripped down. It's kind of revolves around two different characters. I feel like it has the potential, for an ongoing story. Um, and I'm about halfway through the first issue currently.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
So yeah,
amazing.
I really want more than anything else. I would love to have a comic printed that I've written. I think I can do that. I have belief in my ability to do that.
I believe in you.
Thank
And you
you.
said it out loud.
I did say
So
it out
it's
loud.
gonna
I
so
know.
it's gonna
It,
I'm like
it's
your accountability person. So
it's true. That's true. That's true. I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen. Have you thought about your joy?
yeah. So I think honestly I'm gonna repeat myself a little bit, but really
It's okay.
it's Rogers and Hammerstein.
Yes, hell yeah.
I really I have if I have a gift, it's I remember like advertisement jingles and
Uh-huh.
musicals.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So
It's nice.
I'm like rewatching all these movies that I haven't watched in like 25 years, and I'm just like with the kids just sitting down watching a movie and like belting out I know every
Wow, how
word.
interesting.
It's
Wow.
super weird. It's super
Mm.
weird. But it's like and the kids are looking at me I've got a 7 and a 9-year-old, and they're looking at me like, where did this come from?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I know every word. I know every word to these songs, and I had forgotten like how much I loved being in musical theater
Yeah,
in high school. Because I was a total theater nerd. I was a band
sure.
geek, and then I was a theater nerd. I really was. I'm not stereotyping
Oh no,
those
you don't have to. You
things.
don't.
I
I
just
believe you.
was,
You don't have to
yeah,
sell it to me.
unibrow and everything. Right. But like just sharing that with them
That's great.
um,
It's such a
is,
lovely thing to say, to share with
yeah.
kids. Like, yeah,
My youngest was like, "Will you buy me that?" Because I got them each a CD player not too long ago, and we have
hmm
CDs. I'm like, "Listen, we don't have Alexa. I'm trying to start small, and I want them to
yeah.
know what an album from start to finish is like,
Oh
right?"
God, yeah. Even that's a
Yeah,
weird
I
concept these days.
know.
Yeah,
It
it is
totally
true.
is.
Yeah.
So my youngest was like, "When you buy me the Sound of Music soundtrack?" And I was like, "Yes, I can. It will be here tomorrow because I have
Hell
Amazon."
yeah.
So, and I also, I just wanted to credit my source for all of
Oh, good
the
call.
yoga information was Wikipedia. And I donated $5 to Wikipedia. I
Good for
donate
you.
$5 to Wikipedia every year, and so should you.
Yeah, that's yeah. I'll co-sign that. That's
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely
yeah, yeah.
a good thing to do.
Yeah, but really, it's musicals. That's bringing me joy.
That's here. I mean, that's
Hmm.
there's some you know I appreciate the power of music and singing and all those things. So yeah,
Yes,
100%. And
yes.
like, did you know that I was like so basically there isn't as much of a musical tradition. I'm going to speak to the schools that I kind of have knowledge of in this
Yeah,
country as there is
yeah.
seems to be in the US. But I was like in Annie Get Your Gun, um, in I don't know. We started one of and I since went back to that school because I do some work with that school and they haven't done musicals for like 20 years. It's
It's
like
such
what
a
a bummer.
shame.
It is
It's
such
such
a
a
shame.
shame.
I
It's
know,
such a shame.
but I think at least there are other resources for the kids now to try other things, so it's not so
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
But yeah,
Like doing Hamlet and doing Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. Like one was way more fun than the other.
I will bet absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
One
but yeah,
required a far less crying.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, Hamlet's hard. I don't know that I know Seven Brides and Seven Brothers, but anyway,
It's like
it's
the one that no one knows. I was
yeah,
Sarah
I'm
I
aware of it,
Yeah.
but I
I
just know
was
the
one of
name.
the
But
brides, and I had to make my own dress. And then I
nice,
gave it to the theater department. And I was
wow,
like, "But I made
interesting.
that shit." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great for their
Hmm.
production next year of
Exactly.
whatever it's going to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. And do we? I'm going to need to think of a
Oh,
sign
do you
off.
want me to do a no? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna
Do you have a sign off?
say, yeah. I'll sign. Is it? I'll take the sign. You can do the sign
Okay.
in, and I can do the sign off.
Yeah, that works. That works.
But I just wanted to thank everyone for listening.
Hmm.
We don't know what we're doing, but we're trying something out, and
Yep,
we just like talking. Like we do this
we do.
anyway.
True.
So we just thought we would record ourselves, and
Hmm.
maybe the things that we go through in our lives will help other people.
Yeah.
And we're also. I just wanted to put a call out to listeners. If you have any topics that you want to hear us talk about, we have thoughts on everything.
Yes, we do.
So sometimes, yeah,
Too many.
debatable, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And also, if you would like us to offer you any advice,
yeah. Ooh,
um,
yeah.
yeah, right, we can do
Hmm.
advice as well. So, two perspectives, two different countries,
Hmm.
and you can find us at bendypodcast.com.
Hmm.
That's
Oh yeah,
Bendy,
and
Bendy, Bendy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was going to say uh, a masculine perspective and a feminine perspective, but the order of those may surprise you.
That's right. So
Uh,
thanks everyone for listening. Andy, do you have anything to add?
Namaste.
Namaste. I'm just grateful to be here with you.
Yeah, me too.
This is awesome.
Namaste, everybody.
Namaste.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Bendy, a Beth and Andy podcast. Please subscribe to our podcast and give us a follow on social media to keep up to date on what idiotic things we're up to. You can listen to all of our episodes, submit ideas for future podcast topics, ask us for advice, or submit a fart joke at bendypodcast.com. A huge thank you to our families and friends for supporting this passion project that gets us laughing every week. Our topic next week is about travel. where we talk about why we travel, where we've gone, and how it makes us feel. So please tune in to find out why Andy went to North Korea twice. Thanks so much for being here.